Well, Uncle Doug,
Uncle Mark.
sometimes I wonder what's up there.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. What's up, if man could reach the sky, what would he know?
Okay, very good question.
Right? It seems a vain, glorious pursuit,
Yeah.
but why not try?
What if we build a 3-story building? What could happen?
Yes. What if we climb one of yon mountains out the window?
Right.
No one's ever done it. No one's ever touched the sky.
It seems impossible.
Except for the one time.
Yeah, it seems impossible. We probably shouldn't do it. There could be consequences. I don't know. Uncle Dan, what's your opinion?
Here's the thing. Okay. As you're hinting at,
Yes.
I'm just going to spill the beans, and we're talking about the biblical story that takes place in Genesis chapter 11.
Therefore, it's true.
Therefore, it's the literal truth
Yes.
of the Tower of Babel,
Ah.
or Babel, or Babel, or whatever.
Yeah.
Uh,
Which is a real thing that happened.
a phrase that never actually appears in the book, but that's fine.
Oh.
They talk about let's build a building and whatever. Here's the thing. It's actually a very short segment of the Bible.
Yeah.
It's only 9 verses
Which is, in biblical terms, is so merciful.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. Although, when you get more, and it's not like just a bunch of begats, there's more room for, the tying of foxes together or the forbidding of the eating of greater and lesser marmots or whatever.
What I call fox pairing.
So yeah, I mean, it does mean that we are denied some delightful moments, but there's a lot to unpack from this little bit of text, and it's a very important story within both Christianity and Judaism. So I thought we better discuss it.
All right.
And I'll start by saying that I was taught this in church,
Sure.
in Sunday school.
We all were.
And of course, as with all Bible stories, the things that I was taught are not actually located in the Bible.
Right.
They're just concepts that people have expounded upon and decided that this is what it means.
Let's call it fanfic.
So I'm going to start by saying, by opening up the floor to you gentlemen and saying, what is this story about? What happens in this story, and what is the meaning and purpose of this story?
Well, from what I remember,
Yeah.
From Sunday school, it's about ambition,
Okay.
or trying to rival God,
Okay.
and then it's about us not speaking the same language.
Right.
I thought it was that man thought he could reach the sky and reach the gods, reach God. And for our vanity and our pride,
Yeah.
the greatest of the sins, we were struck with many tongues.
Okay.
Which one of us won?
You're both correct in that that's what everybody says, and a lot of that is supported in the text, but a lot of it is overlaid onto the text as
Sure.
we learn. I think what I'm going to do is just read from the Holy Bible,
All right.
and let's just have some fun with
You know,
this.
it's important to Doug to know which one.
Hey, I'm open-minded. It's the new Doug.
It's new Doug. It's the new international Doug version. Speaking of which, maybe I will just read from the NIV, the New International Version. It does change slightly, and I actually read like 5 or 6 different versions of this. But in the end, it's mostly the same. There's a lot of focus on bricks and mortar, but that's okay.
Okay.
Chapter 11 begins with, "Now the whole world had one language and a common speech." By the way, this is post-Diluvian. This is
Post-Noah.
after the flood. Apparently, everybody's sort of started to build up. And the preceding chapter, Genesis chapter 10, is all about where everybody came from and like whose sons were whose and that sort of thing.
Okay. That's great. That's gripping stuff.
It's mostly just really goofy names and people named things like the Kittites and the Rodanites and stuff. So apparently they like sculpture.
or Japanese monster movies.
Right, indeed. So anyway, the world had a one language and a common speech, and people moved eastward. They found a plain in Shinar and settled there. We're in Mesopotamia now.
Okay.
We are in
You're between the rivers.
Babylonian
Yeah.
area. We're in the middle of the river.
Yeah.
Meso and then Potamia. Yes. Okay. They said to each other, "Come, let's make bricks and bake them thoroughly." That's a good point. You don't want a half-baked brick.
You want a well-done brick.
Yeah.
Yep. And
But you don't want to burn it either. It's like cooking a turkey.
Right, exactly. They used brick instead of stone and tar for mortar.
Bad idea.
Well, apparently. But
Kind of oily.
it was working.
Kind of more of a lubricant than a solid material. But
Nah, it's stickum. It's pretty good.
it's sticky, but boy, it's hot in the Valley of Shmervis.
Are you saying you know more than the Mesopotamians?
Heaven forfend.
They said, "Come." Oh, by the way, you'll be pleased to know that one of the translations translated the word not as tar but as slime. That's delightful.
I want to build a tower to the sky. Put the bricks on a bed of slime.
Yes. Ooh, it's wobbly. That's fun. Ooh, it's got a little.
No, keep going. Keep
got a
stacking up. Keep stacking up.
little shimmy to it. That's
Yeah.
fun. And it did blow down in the wind. Anyway,
It
then
did
they
slide
said,
away into the river.
verse 4, then they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves. Otherwise, we will be scattered over the face of the whole earth." Why?
Wait.
Who knows?
So they built the tower in order to avoid being scattered.
Yeah, they just all wanted to hang out, and they wanted to make a name for themselves,
All right.
I guess.
With whom?
The other ones?
The Moabites and the Gronkites.
Don't-
The karate mites. And
the dust mites.
the
and-
terabytes.
Just don't forget that, like,
Let's build a slimy pile of bricks. So everyone will go, look at those dumb fuckers.
the amazing thing here is that they, everybody is descended from the same great-great-great-great-grandpa or
Right.
great-grandpa or whatever. And remember that everybody's living to age 109 or 330 or whatever.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people, and this group wanted to make a name for themselves.
Yes.
Who are these people? Are they does it say?
No.
Are they-
They're either the whole world or they're one group of them. It doesn't really say. What it says is, I mean, like I said, I started the chapter with, "Now the whole world had one language and a common speech, as people moved eastward." So it's people. In case you're wondering,
These are the peopleites.
The answer to your question is folks.
Okay, they're not the Israelites specifically.
Unnamed group of people moved east and decided to build a slimy tower.
And wanted to make a name for themselves.
I'm with you.
Okay.
Well-cooked bricks.
With well-cooked bricks and slime / tar.
I'm here for it.
And otherwise, and if they didn't do this, they'd be scattered over the face of the whole earth. And they liked each other, apparently, so they didn't want that to happen. But
Okay, but all right.
now comes,
in.
as far as I'm concerned, like, now comes the mustache-twirling, teeth-gnashing bad guy of the story.
The guy in the top hat with the monocle.
But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower the people were building. The Lord said, "If, as one people speaking the same language, they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language so they will not understand each other."
Who's he talking to?
Great question. Isn't that fun?
And also,
He's the narrator.
Let
This
us
is-
go down.
twice in 10 chapters of this fucking book, he's been like, "Oh fuck, I got to kill all these people."
They're going
Right?
to
Oh my god.
look at what they can do. In this case, it's not because they're sinning. They're not doing the thing that he commanded them not to do.
Yeah.
They're just building.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh crap, if they actually make this, they'll find out how good they are."
Right, if they're capable of building... So there are these ziggurats in Iraq, right?
And that is wow, you good pull.
I'm an art school dropout. So
Yeah.
they figure that one of these might be what is referred to in the Bible as the Tower of Babel, and it's what, like 5-6 stories high?
Some of them may have gotten really tall.
Bigger than that.
Yeah, we may be looking at, let's see, the
Pyramids were extant at this point. The
Yeah.
Pyramid of Cheops, which is a fucking mountain.
Yeah.
So hardly less impressive than these Mesopotamian ziggurats.
Exactly.
The ziggurat of to the god Marduk
Yeah,
is
it's a classic.
which was an ancient Babylonian god. They say that it was 91 meters tall.
Whoa.
91 meters.
Yeah, so
Wait a second. That's
a really giant.
12 stories.
300 feet. It's probably like
No.
like
For real? That was 300 feet high?
30 stories tall.
Wow.
Jesus.
So a really, and by the
Okay.
way, these ziggurats are, I mean, you can sort of think of them they're not pyramidal, but they just each subsequent
It's kind of like
layer
a step.
gets
It's like a stepped
goes
pyramid.
inward a little bit. So
And
so,
every
yeah.
depiction of the Tower of Babel on you can pull up on Google Images is that structure. Is a version of that structure.
Some of them,
Some are kind of like the Roman Colosseum as a spiral.
Yeah, exactly.
right?
Yeah.
But they weren't that. They were literally just, they were either a step pyramid, which is like a gay wedding cake, or there's kind of a spiral version, which
Yep.
is like one of the ones in Iraq. But anyway.
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow, that's crazy tall.
So yeah, really, really big. They were capable of these really big things, and they think that maybe
That's
this,
a testament to the bonding power of slime.
it really is.
Yeah.
They're really good with that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, that particular Marduk ziggurat was destroyed by Alexander the Great, I think. Anyway, I've got
asshole.
that somewhere.
Boo.
Anyway,
Boo Alexander.
right. Anyway, so the Lord goes ahead and makes everybody speak a different language, or at least makes groups of people speak one. Like, I don't know how that works. It surely wasn't every human being spoke his own language. And just like, well, I guess I don't get to communicate with other humans now.
I guess I speak Portuguese now.
Yeah. Why did I get Korean?
Right. But I guess groups of different people suddenly spoke different languages. And so the Lord, this is picking up at verse 8, so the Lord scattered them from there all over the earth, and they stopped building the city. That is why it is called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of the whole world. From there the Lord scattered them over the face of the whole earth.
Okay, so just going back in the earlier part of the story, the reason they built the tower was to not be scattered over the earth.
Correct.
They built the tower, and God scattered them over the earth.
Right.
I think that's
Okay.
an attempt at foreshadowing, at
Right.
saying I'm going to punish these people. I think
By giving them the one thing they didn't want.
that they feared.
Yeah.
And I would bet this is where biblical literasts think that the people of the earth came from, like the far-flung nations of the earth.
Well, it's the explanation for why there are so many languages in a world that's only 6,000 years old.
Right.
Right.
Well, and it's so weird. I don't know. There's a lot to unpack in all of this. But to my mind, how do you interpret this anyway but the Lord was just being a dick?
That's
Well, that's the entire Old Testament.
exactly.
No, I mean at very least in other cases, at very least, he made a commandment, they didn't follow it, you get destroyed.
Right, and he didn't give them any warning here.
There was no commandment.
No.
He was just like, oh shit,
They're more powerful than I
they're
thought.
figuring it out.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing, like, there are these, even though Alexander destroyed that particular one, there are these huge ziggurats and pyramids and, like, that predate, a lot of that shit predates this story,
Yeah.
right? And now we can probably do some drilling and figure out what the actual origin of this story is, because it's probably pre-biblical, like Utnapishtim and Noah.
Yeah.
But, so this idea that if you build something too big, he'll come and punish you is bullshit, because people were doing it all the time.
Well, and also, okay, so the lesson from this story, from the Christian
Is there a
perspective,
lesson?
if there were a lesson,
Yeah.
I mean, the lesson that we were all taught, that you guys pointed out, is
Arrogance.
don't have hubris.
Yeah.
And it's a show of hubris to build something very tall. Now, you tell me
Donald Trump.
how this applies in a modern society when literally everybody is making things as tall as they can
Right.
to make a name for themselves.
So
Yeah, truly.
Donald Trump is not only the living embodiment of the 7 deadly sins,
right.
he is the living embodiment of what's supposed to be the moral of this story.
And that's why
Don't
none
be
of us can
prideful.
understand his language.
Yeah. And is there something in the text about a bow shot? Wasn't that one of the things I remember from that. They said, we'll build a tower as high as your finest. That might have been some backfilling. Your finest archer can fire an arrow.
No.
So a guy shot an arrow up into the sky.
That's
but then
not from this.
Who was up there measuring? And isn't there a dude named Nimrod in this story?
There is a dude named Nimrod.
right.
Nimrod kind of comes along afterwards.
What did he do?
Oh, stuff.
Nobody knows because I couldn't understand a fucking word he said.
Yeah, it literally no
was speaking
names are
Norwegian.
named within the telling of this story.
Okay.
I literally have just read to you the entirety of this story.
Gotcha.
It then goes on to tell us all about Shem's family. I think later in the book, Nimrod is referenced in reference to this thing.
Okay.
I literally just focused on this part of
Gotcha.
the thing.
Huh.
But it is, it's so interesting to me that what was told to me as why this story was important. And, this story was told to me as an important Bible story as a child.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
Well, oftentimes when we do these Bible stories, what the intent of the moral of the story is fairly clear. It's just a terrible moral.
Yeah.
Right. It's the wrong thing.
Right.
It's like if you fuck your daughter, then just hide all the chess pieces, and then the angel will come and the river will dry up, something like that. But and it's like, oh, that's awful. But this, I don't see what the intent of the story is. It is, at best, kind of a very loose parable about pride, I suppose.
Yeah. At best.
But even though, it doesn't ever actually explicitly say that. God doesn't talk about the motives of the people building it. Just that
they want to
they're
make a
building
name
it.
for themselves, which to
Right.
me is kind of pride.
Right. So so that makes sense that you would just say, this is it's a prideful thing that they want to do this, but like literally all of humanity all the time, and including the Bible, all throughout the Bible, people, righteous, good people, are trying to make a name for themselves.
Yeah.
What the fuck was David doing? What the fuck
For
was
sure.
Daniel doing? What were any of these guys doing but making a name for themselves?
And what's unique in this story, not unique, but it's certainly not common, is that God explains his motives, explicitly. He says, hey,
Right.
look, they're getting too smart. They're getting too industrious.
Yeah.
We got to change
They
that.
might figure out how good they are.
He didn't say they're getting prideful.
No. He says they will actually figure out how good they are. I have to put a stop to this.
Yeah.
So it's a biblical a cry for stupidity.
Yes.
I suppose.
It is basically and the Lord realized that they were getting good at their shit, and he decided to just fuck with them. Like literally the Old Testament God is a kid with an ant farm who every now and then
Well,
needs to shake it
To
up
me,
and ruin their lives.
This is probably the most great and powerful Oz story
Totally.
in the Bible. That he's desperate. They don't see behind the curtain.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if they get up 6 stories,
You're right.
basically a medium-sized hill
Yeah.
that are hither and yon around the Middle East, they might see behind the curtain.
Also, listen, Bible literalists. Great. You believe in the literal truth of the Bible. How come God's not terrified of the Burj Khalifa?
Right.
Right.
We're building really insane buildings right now, and they're just getting higher. They're just getting better. They're just getting more and
no.
more. At what point does God, confuse our language?
More
'Cause-
so, we have built a tiny city that's in orbit,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Looking down on that needs magnification to see the Burj Khalifa.
Right.
Right? So
Not only that, but we have technology that unconfuses our language. So
technology.
I've got it in my pocket.
right, exactly.
No, and the thing is, too, is this is supposed to be part explanation for why there are so many languages, right?
Right.
And there's a lot of mythologies that are explanatory like that. Like, why do the seasons change?
Right.
Why are there stars in the sky? This is just an old, stupid myth about that got put in the Bible, and now people talk about it.
That is from ignorance.
Yeah.
Because they didn't know where all the different languages came from.
Right.
It came from oceans of fucking time on this earth.
Exactly.
With different people developing different cultures and languages all the fuck over the place.
Just like geology
They're
and
like,
every other
nope,
science.
it was a slimy pyramid.
Exactly.
And pride, maybe.
But modern linguistics proves how old humanity is, because you can trace the origins of these languages back thousands and thousands of years.
Right, there's linguistic anthropology.
Incorrect. You can trace them back to just a little bit before Christ when the Tower of Babel happened. Shut your hole.
See, and that would be if all of linguistics pointed to one little place in Iraq,
And an explosion therefrom.
we would have to have a different conversation.
Right.
But then again, how are you going to know if God scattered everybody? And all I can imagine is God with a pitching wedge, just sort of knocking people over to
Australia.
You're going to Asia, you're going over to Europe, or just whacking people down left and right. It is a coincidence that all of the people that ended up in Asia have sort of related languages, and all the people ended up in Europe have related languages.
Yeah.
And my reaction to all of a sudden not understanding everyone around me wouldn't be to flee to Asia.
Hey, okay, everybody that knows what I'm saying right now,
This way.
let's go over here. We're going east.
We're going northeast-ish as fast as we can go.
That's right. Norwegian over there, Pidgin English over there.
Yeah. Wow, what a dumb story.
It is a dumb story. All of the Bible's dumb.
All right. Well, I think we've wrapped that up.
I feel like there should be like a children's song called "All the Bible's Dumb." Will somebody please write that?
That's on us to write. So.
Okay.
All right, with that, let's move on.
Moving on.